Okay, let's get a sound check.
Sound check. 1, 2, 3. Sound check. 4, 5, 6. How are you today, internets? And of
Okay.
course, by internets, I mean Darren. How's it going?
All right, the sound is good.
I
I'm
like it.
good. All right, welcome everybody to Can Hammer TV. This is your source for 40K from the Great White North, which is a funny statement today because we also have quite possibly the source for 40K from the Great White North. I have tonight with me Ridvan, aka Skari from Scarcast. How are you, Skari?
Fabulous. I'm excited. It's been a good day. Relaxed, ready to chat some 40K, and I hope all of you are ready as well. We're going to be talking tactics. We're going to be talking anti-tactics. We're going to be talking headaches and, shenaniganery. So make sure that you stay tuned and let us know what you think with a like, a comment, a subscribe to the channel here at Can Hammer TV, which is exciting. Okay.
Yeah, and make sure you check out Scarcast. If you haven't heard of Skari, I'm not sure where you've been. He quite possibly, and it's not even going out on a limb here, the most famous Drukhari player on the planet. I think that's probably fair.
Flattery is a good way to get ahead in the dark city. Just saying. Just saying.
It is the way. It is the way. So tonight is Custodes Tactica episode 55. And we are starting a series of shows on matchups and how to deal with specific matchups. This is very requested by the members of the Discord. And who better and what topic better right now than to talk about Drukhari, who seem to be taking whatever meta there is out there by storm and making a lot of people nervous and some people upset and some people like yourself probably, Ridvan, super happy.
I am very happy. To be fair, what has been happening in the last 3 weeks of Dark Eldar has been my worst fear come true.
Like too strong?
Yeah. Yeah, like it just seems way too strong. And it just I just wanted it to be good. I didn't want it to be stupid, basically.
Yeah.
But it's not unbeatable. Dark Eldar is still Dark Eldar. There are elements in people's armies, which we'll kind of get to, especially with Custodes, that folks haven't been putting in their armies.
Yeah.
Which means that right now Dark Eldar are terrorizing people because it's been about 3 years since the time when folks had to put stuff in their list to deal with pointy elves.
That's right.
And it's and because people started taking that away, right? All the bolters and the chain swords got put away in the cabinet. And now all of a sudden, Dark Eldar come, and they're like, "Oh my goodness!" And now hopefully you start seeing people kind of bring the weapons that are great against toughness 3, low armor, Eldar models out again. So
yeah. We have seen a lot in 9th of the new book being quite good, whatever new book that was, and then eventually kind of people start to figure it out. And maybe that's taking a little bit longer now because there's still a significant proportion of people who can't play very much.
Right.
For some reason, there's way more anti-hype about the Drukhari impact than Dark Angels was, or Necrons, or that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's just as Mr. Funktastic, thank you for the comment by the way on Twitch. It says they're undercosted, they're anti-meta, and there are a few specific combos that are just happen to be really strong. Yes, there are definitely that hits all 3 points I think really well. They're very, very appropriately costed, in my opinion. However, there are some things that are silly, you shouldn't be using 10-point Reaver jet bikes. And if your Dark Eldar opponent is using 10-point Reaver jet bikes, they're clearly not right in the head, in my opinion. And then they have great combos, like Dark Tex and Liquefiers, or Super Succubus combos, or whatever it is. So it's they can't really pick any sort of bad choices, because everything seems to work right now in the current meta as well. Also, Raiders, Mr. Funktastic, you're really cheap for what they are. They die super fast. They're not terribly strong. 100 points for them is about right. And that's usually what people are paying for them, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll get to some of these things. Tonight also we want to try and figure out what we can do as Custodes players to give a good game to the Drukhari player, if anything, maybe. And so who better to tell us some of these inside tips than Skari himself?
You're gonna pry me for information, prod me, and poke me in all the right places, because I like being tortured.
Yeah, that's the way. Okay, so the first topic is, so how are Drukhari different now, if they're different from what they have been, let's say since 8th edition, since their last book? Have they changed a lot, like other than, just points and stuff? But
so I think one of the biggest things for the biggest changes is the Dark Eldar haven't really changed much in terms of what they were. Like, they got new dynamics or whatever. They still play the mission as well as they have always played the mission. Now they've got, of course, access to like faction secondaries and things like that. But they've always been very good at playing 9th edition missions, which is one of the reasons that I had success with them, even when their book was considered garbage. I still won games. The biggest difference is now Dark Eldar have the ability to kill things. And that was something that he didn't have before. Like, if I was playing a Custodes army, that used to be one of the toughest matchups that I could have run into, because they had good armor, good invulnerable saves, high toughness, and they had like lots of ways to just shut off like my waste, like -1 strengths, because disintegrated cannons were very popular back then, so you could literally make disintegrated cannons almost pointless. You could ignore AP 1 and 2s, transhuman. You could shut off rerolls. Like, there's so many different things that you could do that made it very hard to kill any Custodes unit. Now, Dark Eldar, with all the added like attacks, all the added things like Dark Lances doing minimum 4 damage, that sort of stuff, and then the AP, like a lot more AP and access to more wounds. Like, now they do damage, so they can actually kill things. They die just as quickly as they always have. That hasn't changed. Like, a Hurricane Bolter on a jet bike is still like the most terrifying weapon that a Dark Eldar could see. It's just now I can kill you without having to like put 12 venoms into something and hope that I kill you. Now I can physically do damage to you. Which means that my losses over the course of the game are less impactful, because I can mitigate that by killing your stuff. I think that's the one main thing. The killiness went up. Survivability is about the same. Point costs are about the same. Like, a lot of the dynamics that you see are the same. What changed is damage potential. Mortal wound output, damage potential. And I think that's really kind of elevated the army to like scary proportions.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty on track with what a lot of the codexes have received so far. Is they're getting that little 1 or 2 points of AP here and there, a few more attacks here and there, that extra multi-damage now. And so that's pretty on par, and that is what's been sinking us every time a new book comes out, right? So our 2-up armor doesn't go as far as it used to. That extra AP puts it just past the ignore AP strat. There's stopping rerolls is still good, but it's we have few units, right? So once you kill 2 or 3 guys, that's a big loss for us. I think it's spot on there. It's just it's been updated like everyone else, and it's a lot more killy now.
Yeah, a lot more killy. The War Mistress knows that. They just hit a lot harder, right? Tanya Gates, harder. Yes, that is exactly right. That's kind of how they treat us. They treat us good now.
Yeah.
But just in general, that's just a very, and combine that with the fact that they still play the missions really well. And I think that's where a lot of people are having a lot of issues with the Dark Eldar, because Dark Eldar trade exceptionally well. Sort of like Sisters of Battle, where you send in a small little 100-point unit, they murder a 300-point unit, like Repentia, go in, just kill something. And then you can't trade at the same rate.
Yeah.
And Dark Eldar do that, but like better, right? And they can stop you from scoring primaries, because most of their damage-dealing units are OBSEC. Like witches and Cabalite warriors. Like, they're things that are going to go in there and take the objective away from you, as well as beat you up.
Yeah.
And I think that combination makes it a very powerful combination for 9th edition.
Yeah, and we as maybe the most elite army in the game, other than like 4 knights, are the hardest army to trade with if we're losing the trade. Like you can't trade. You cannot afford to trade against armies that with cheaper units. It doesn't work because you run out way faster than them. So since we're talking about how well Drukhari play the mission, they obviously have got a set of new codex-specific secondaries, and by and large, each codex has had arguably one like really good auto take sort of secondary. Did Drukhari have something similar to that?
Well, the thing about Drukhari secondaries is they tend to be very specific. And the one that's relatively good, or the one that's the most useful, competes with engage on all fronts and domination, which is like, that whole taking the table and maneuvering it on board is already something that Dark Eldar are really, really good at.
Yeah.
So the fact that one of their secondaries that's really good, which is Herd the Prey, which can force your opponent to get aggressive if you want them to come at you, which is fine. It works in a lot of situations. But it competes with engage, which is something that you can just do because you're really fast. So even like the impact isn't as much as say Oath of Moment for Space Marines, or sit on an objective for 5 turns with Dark Angels to get 15 points. You know what I mean? Like, because those are in categories in the secondary choices that are very not saturated with good choices, so they can kind of pick and choose from the best. So in terms of secondaries, it's nothing like it hasn't really changed too much.
Yeah. So
like on the off chance that you play an Astra Militarum army that has a bunch of Death Corps of Kree cavalry, or like the AdMech list that has a bunch of like horse dogs, then you have access to a a secondary that's like kill those things and you get points. You know what I mean? Like, so that is in those situations is better. But in most situations, it's about the same. We're going to move around or stop you from moving and get a bunch of points there. We're going to take scramblers and and like the mission one if we can. Still, like that doesn't change.
Yeah.
Or banners or whatever. Yeah.
So you're still favoring engage over the Herd the Prey one because they're kind of like opposites.
Well, I love Herd the Prey. If I need it's what I like is it gives me the opportunity to not have to spread out if I don't want to. Like I'm always taking some sort of engage on all fronts secondary style, like the battlefield supremacy ones. Domination if there's 3 objectives, or 5 objectives on the table. Engage on all fronts if I need to, if I'm going to have to get into and contest objectives, like I want to get engaged to kind of maximize that as well. Or if I'm going to sit back like against Death Guard, and I'm like, I'm just going to sit way back here, and you're slow. So the longer it takes you to get into table quarters, the more points I'm going to get.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't have to commit at all.
Yeah.
And so I like having the option as a Dark Eldar player.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're playing against a custodian army, these days we're talking mostly like Dreads and some Telemons and maybe some Sags or Shield Boys. Venatari, yeah. Are you taking, what kind of secondaries are you taking these days?
It really depends on the Custodes list. However, I do like taking Herd the Prey when I'm playing against Custodes because I want to force them out of their bubble, like into my zone to spread out right as much as possible.
Yeah.
And it forces them to sort of like isolate themselves and not kind of self-support. So, that's something I like doing. I'm normally going to be taking something like banners, especially on certain missions where, once again, the speed is a factor.
Yeah.
Like if you're just walking up with Telemons or whatever, I could put up some banners, get 6 to 9 points or 6 points or whatever, 6 to 8 points before you can even get up in my face. And then later in the game, I have the speed to maybe like go around and put it up later in the game. And then I normally go for Assassinate, depending on how many characters they take, because Custodes don't really give up that 3rd secondary very well, and I'm sure as hell not going to try and kill Telemons, because those things are unkillable. Those things are nuts. Or Galatus or whatever. Barring them only having like 2 characters, I find a lot of times Custodes will have like 3 characters, sometimes maybe 2, but usually 3, and Dark Eldar tend to do the killing characters thing quite well. Even like a Trajan, we do lots of mortal wounds, we do like precision like combats and stuff like that where you can get in and kill a character and get the hell out, you know what I So it's not unheard of to be able to do that. But in a pinch, the mission one, and like maybe say deploy scramblers or something like that, right? Like, and usually I'd hope to take, like, if I'm playing that, I hope it's like one of the mission ones that I can do, because other than that, I'm not getting a third secondary very frequently against you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's pretty interesting. Certainly, we see a lot of 2 to 3 Telemon lists now. The other dreadnoughts are super popular right now. Venatari obviously very good, and people are trying to minimize their characters now. As often you just see Trajan or one captain. You don't even see the Vexilla much anymore. Although maybe Drukhari is going to make us start bringing that back again, depending on the number of dense cover that you have.
Yeah, it's true. Like, it helps with a lot of the Dark Lances on the Raiders. Like, that -1 does have an impact. Not for the Trueborn.
Yeah.
If you find the Trueborn, they just hit everything. But the -1 strength on the Telemons, like with Shadow Keepers, really helps against the prevalence of strength 8 weapons that the Dark Eldar have. It really, like, training the blast weapons, going from wounding on 4s to wounding on 5s against the Telemon, really changes the math and forces your opponent to kind of, unless they're really bringing Void Raven bombers, to roll like crazy, and then you still have your impulse save. So it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so right now, anyway, and often the lists you see when the book first comes out are not necessarily the most powerful of lists, as you say, when people start to adjust. Maybe the true power of the book comes out later, but right now we're seeing lists with a lot of raiders, for one, multiple raiders, leading to people calling that dedicated transports should be restricted to 3 as well. I don't know, but do you think...
I'm only running 3 raiders now anyway, so it doesn't matter.
So where do you think we're going to see armies kind of in the next, month or two? Like, what should we be expecting when we play a Drukhari player?
So right now, a Dark Eldar army is based around, competitively speaking, at least in the competitive sense, you're going to be seeing a Coven patrol with 3 units of 5 racks with double liquefire guns. They're Dark Technomancer. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what that does, it allows the flamers, they're 12-inch flamers that have an AP of 2. They're strength 4, but they can kind of like overcharge like plasma. They get +1 damage and +1 to wound roll. So they're strength 4, +1 to wound, and they're 2 damage at AP 2 with auto hits, which means that you can put 2 of these squads in a raider, and you can essentially have a raider flying around with 4d6 shots that do quite a bit of damage. And for very cheap, for like 200 points or something, you get this whole combo together for one of those units. And then usually run with Drazar, Master of Blades, big incubi dude.
Because he's so good.
Yeah, he's 135 points. So he's like the most expensive Dark Eldar character. He comes with a fight twice all the time stock, but he's 3 damage and +1 to wound.
Yeah.
So he literally goes in and he's like, he will nuke anything he hits normally.
Yeah.
I haven't been running him because I've been actually running 2 patrols, but I've been running Void Raven bombers, and that's a topic for a whole other conversation. You can get up to 5 liquefiers if you take 3 grotesques. Correct, yeah. If you do 3 grotesques, 5 racks in the transport, Mr. Funktastic, then you can do 11, and that's 5 liquefiers. That's more expensive to do as well. So some people do, some people don't. Then you have, I'm talking competitively, what we've seen at GTs right now. Literally every Dark Eldar list has like this patrol. Drazar, 3 units of 5 racks with double liquefier gun. And then we go to usually a Cult of Strife Witch Cult patrol. And this is as its own detachment to have access to the Book of Rust stratagems. So that gives Witch Cult some crazy powerful stratagems, like reroll wound rolls, which is, against Custodes, you can just shut off rerolls, so it's not as impactful against you. With the ability to ignore Overwatch, which is really powerful, just being able to just go for 1 CP, just run in and ignore Overwatch. The ability to ignore vertical terrain and enemy models when charging, And this is like any unit, so you can do it on bikes. Like literally, bikes could like fly over ruins and stuff to like charge you and whatnot. So that's really powerful as well.
It's like old fly.
Yeah, like old fly for a CP, right?
Yeah.
I'll fall back and charge one, be able to give a relic to a sergeant, that sort of thing. And then my favorite is when they kill something in combat, you can spend a CP to give the unit a 4+ invulnerable save. Which then makes their durability go way up. Like Helions or Reva jet bikes, they can go in, kill something, and then they just get hopped up, and they're like, yeah, let's do this. We have a 4 pinball, which then means your return fire is a lot less efficient against the unit.
Yeah.
So that detachment is usually 2 units of witches, 10 witches. They're fantastic. Just volume of attacks, good, decent AP. Depending on the drugs, you can kind of make them do whatever you want. And then either Helions or Reva jet bikes, like as a fast, hard-hitting unit. I prefer the jet bikes, but a lot of people like the Helions better. And then the succubuses, which are like the epitome. Is like what a solitaire wishes they were. Super cheap and really killy, and that's literally how that works. So watch out for the succubus. Like she's a meanie. She is a meanie, and you need to like get her dead as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Which biggest thing to remember is a lot of them are masters, so the master succubus can consolidate in any direction. Yeah. So that's really, really powerful as well. Yo, what's up, guys? Witches do parkour. They do parkour. They're just like flipping and flapping all over the place. And last but not least, you usually have a Cabal detachment to round it all off. And the Cabal detachment is a unit of Trueborn, more often than not. These are Cabalite warriors that always hit on 2+, regardless of modifiers. They have poison rifles, and they have 3 like anti-tank weapons, basically, a lot of the time. Yeah. And they go in a raider. And then add to mix mandrakes for forward deployment, incubi for like AP3 2 damage attacks in like a small little package, and then raiders to see fit, just like as many as you can, because the dark lances are efficient if you run them as black heart. Now I'm running poison tongue, which is why I'm taking board group bombers. You get redeploys. There's a whole other way of running that detachment. However, that's the most standardized. Yeah, as you're going to see 4 to 5 raiders, or 5, maybe 6 raiders, depending on what they decide to do. An Archon that makes you fight last, a couple of incubi squads, Trueborn, a couple of units of witches, succubus, and then Drazar and like the liquefire guns, and some witches, and maybe Helions or Reavers. And then you put that together, and it's pretty much Brad Chester's list from winning the Mayhem major tournament that just happened. Yeah. But that has 2 things. One, it's very similar across the board, so you're going to see a very similar list every time, which is actually a lot easier to then tech against. Yeah. Right? Like if you're going to be running against 5 or 6 raiders and things like you just have to put tech in that can kill raiders, and then put stuff in that can kill the insides, right? And I think that's the most important thing, is understanding that you haven't had to kill a rhino for like 2 years, maybe 1-2 rhinos, maybe. Now you have to kill like 6 of them that really feels like 10 of them because they have a 5-up impulse. Yeah. So you just have to like really get your Caladius grav tanks out there with a bunch of strength 7 shots or whatever, and just like try to start nuking them.
Yeah. Anyway. The Caladiuses have started to reappear again for sure. Because of Drukhari. They've been on the shelf for quite some time. And of course, Dark Lances are equally good at killing Caladius tanks.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, a mix. I think a mix is most important. Yeah. To be honest, like when teching against Dark Eldar, and there's a couple of more like gaming principles that you really have to take to heart when facing Dark Eldar, especially as a high elite force as the Custodes, right? It all starts with like list building, but then it goes into like your game plan, secondary picks and choices, and like deployment, and then the execution of the game plan on the table. I think that is like heightened when you're playing Dark Eldar, because any little mistake, and Dark Eldar are so speedy they can just get you, right? I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but there are ways to beat Dark Eldar. It's just not like you can't just take a bunch of 3-up invul save guys and think you're gonna win,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Okay, well, let's chat about that since you brought it up. So, what kind of secondaries, if you were a Custodes player, would you pick against yourself?
Sorry, what?
So, what kind of secondaries do you think we should pick against,
Oh,
this
against Dark
this
Eldar.
typical list
Yeah,
that we just talked
absolutely,
about?
100%. So I feel like thin their ranks is a very, very good one. Instead of grind them down, I think thin their ranks allows you to really just focus on killing instead of like having to say kill multiple units. You just have to kill. Remember each raider counts as 1 point for thin their ranks. So if they take 5 or 6 raiders, that's 6 points right there, and you have to try and deal with them. Then each raider has 10 bodies inside, so that's another 5 points right there, plus assorted models and units. You're getting 12 to 15 points just by killing stuff. So it just means you can just kill things and get points. I think that's very, very useful against the Dark Eldar right now. If you are taking Venatari and things like that, like Engage on All Fronts is not a bad one to take, especially in some deployments. You can kind of put a Telamon in a zone and a Galatis in another, and like the Venatari go up in one, or your Jetbike Captain, and you can easily control the Engage on All Front points if you want. I rarely recommend like banners or scramblers, you know what I mean? But it is something that in a pinch you could. But I highly recommend you stay away from banners when you play Dark Eldar because they're so fast. They'll just put models on your objectives and you won't be able to put the banners up. And it's really annoying to like then kill them and then have to try and put them, and then your units are expensive and all that stuff. So it's not really worth the time. Actually, I have my handy dandy Grand Tournament stuff. Another one like is Assassinate, because a lot of the times they do have to like send the characters up, and maybe you only see 4 characters in a Dark Eldar army, 2 Succubuses, an Archon, and a Drazar, or maybe 3. However, taking Assassinate means that if you get those kills, you just get points. You know what I mean? And if your opponent wants to get aggressive with the characters, they're gonna have to like put them up in your face. You know what I mean? Like, and get them in there. And those tend to be like, you're not gonna go for like, it's like a scramblers. If they have 3 characters, just try and get something in there to kill their characters or whatever, and all of a sudden get your 9 points.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing I would pick.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially if we keep seeing similar lists as we have been seeing. And as you say, like killing things is something you have to do anyway. Like if you don't kill those things, they're going to kill you. So, that kind of just sinks in with what you're trying to do without going too far out of your way. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's talk about the next section, which is so you're matched up against a Custodes player at a tournament. What don't you want to see across the table? Is there anything that scares the Drukhari that we have?
I know I have to kill the Venatari if they have Venatari. Venatari are one of those things that are high on my priority list. I know they're not really as popular as they were before, but the jet bikes always make me nervous. And then Caladius Scrap Tanks. I'm not too worried about Telamons. I know they kill stuff, but they're slow. Anything that can essentially rival my speed is a red flag for me. Like I need to make sure that I'm trying to like slow you down first. And when you have an elite army like the Custodes, even the little Caladius tanks, what are they called?
The Palace tanks.
The palaces, those things are incredibly annoying.
Yeah.
And they're quite good. So like even a pair of those, like I've played against them to know that they're not something I want to like underestimate, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So things like that, and that Jetbike Captain is always like, I'm always worried about where he's going because he's a tank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he just goes around and can kill stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So Raiders are T6. How many wounds?
What's that?
The Raiders, they're T6 and 10 wounds?
10 wounds. 10 wounds and toughness 6.
Okay.
Yeah, with a 5-up impulse save.
So all of a sudden, all our strength 7 weaponry has a little bit of function again now, whereas in the T8 meta, they were really lackluster.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or the T5 meta, they were like, well, you might as well take all the strength 6 stuff, right?
Yeah.
So another thing that's really good is just like I like the Hurricane Bolters, for example. Like, I'm terrified when I see Hurricane Bolters more than when I see salvo launchers,
Yeah,
for example, just because Hurricane Bolters, like, just kill everything.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So, in a Dark Elder army, they'll kill a Raider as much as they'll kill, even if they only wound on fives, you can auto wound on sixes, or you can do all this other stuff that's like just really focus your fire. Um, the key is to crack open the transports. So yeah, your strength 7, 2 damage or whatever guns, long range, it's just like anything that can crack open a Venom or a Raider is like money right now.
yeah, yeah. So crack open the transport, kill what's inside. That's kind of the the order. Yeah, and sure enough, we've been seeing some lists now with 3, 4, 5 bike units coming back, whereas bikes kind of dropped off for a while there because they're that much more expensive than other things still. And starting to see the Hurricane Bolters come back, and because against Death Guard and Dark Angels, like Hurricane Bolters aren't doing anything, but we'll have to see.
Well, the Hurricanes would be good against Poxwalkers. They'd be good against like other stuff like that you need to like kill some chaff. And so, as Mr. Funktastic said, flak burst missiles are so good into Drukhari. They're great like into the flak burst from the jet bikes. They're great into like the Raiders and stuff like that, 100%, or into the Venoms. Yes, absolutely. However, you need stuff to kill the 10 witches that hopped out as well. So instead of having like 2 big units of 10 jet bikes, I highly recommend, say, running 3 units of 3, and then having like 1 with missiles and 2, like have more smaller units of jet bikes that can have more of an impact all over the table, rather than like putting them in larger squads like we had seen to sort of maximize stratagem use.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about making sure that they're in like more of an MSU style, so you can like shoot a Caladius at a Raider, get it down, then shoot the flak burst missiles, crack it open, and then shoot some Hurricanes or whatever came out, and have like that 3 different parts to like nuke and like something that's coming at you.
Yeah, even before Drukhari, there was a move among some of us, including myself, to start going more MSU, including 3-man bike units, because they just got that little bit cheaper that makes it more palatable. And Palace tanks, Venatari units, a few dreads, pretty mobile, good spread, good distribution, different weapons. So, but yeah, and I think the cool thing about Drukhari coming out and being so strong is, I think it actually, like if you just have a meta where it's all like Dark Angels, Death Guard, then all the armies become samey. But now you're like, okay, well I have to be able to deal with crazy Terminators, but then I also need to be able to deal with 15 units and Raiders and stuff flying around doing stuff, right? So I think that puts the game actually in a pretty good place.
Oh, 100%. And I think that's one of the things we're seeing right now is that impact of everybody bringing plasma guns and melta-guns and multi-meltars and like all this stuff. And then Dark Eldar hit the scene, and now we're going to start seeing like mortifiers a lot more with like a bunch of heavy bolters and like, like Hurricane bolters and just assault marines with chainswords and bolt pistols that can go in and kill a bunch of just Dark Eldar that are sitting outside of a transport or whatever. And I think that MSU style is very important as well. Tom Lighton says in the chat, he says multiple of 3 is generally better regardless of Drukhari because it also helps spread the AlpSec out and things like that. 100%. Having AlpSec all over the table, being able to take objectives, super, super important as well. And it is good for the game. Like, and every once in a while, you need something to come in that's like strong, like Dark Eldar, and shake things up and just like shake it up so people are going back through their codexes of books and going, well, that's a really good one. I hadn't remembered that relic existed, or that warlord trait. That would be really good against Dark Eldar. You know what I mean? Like, and nobody's been using it. Well, I'm going to try it in my next match and see if I can like use it to good effect. I think that's important when you're trying to build a list. And it shows that like it hopefully spurs that sort of creative movement. And to remember, Dark Eldar and Admech was supposed to be 2 peas in a pod here. It was supposed to be released like side by side, which I feel would have had a big impact in the meta in itself, right? Because historically, Dark Eldar are like hate playing against Admech because Admech has all the right tools to just wipe out a Dark Eldar.
Yeah.
Right. Strength 4 and strength 6, and strength 7. So it's I find it interesting, and that's going to be coming soon as well. So
yes, that's next, I believe.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Whenever
so
next is.
Fingers crossed. We'll see. we'll have a whole other, how do Custodes beat a billion stubber shells?
Yeah, man, AdMech. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else you wanted to cover, Skari, before we go to questions?
Look, it can feel really challenging to play a very elite army like Custodes right now. So don't try and take all the objectives on the table. Like find that chart online of the objective like grouping that you can find, which is like the picture that shows like where all the objectives are grouped, and you can tell like where most of the objectives are regardless of mission, and then build an army that can control a little part of the table and make the most amount of impact on the game, controlling the least amount of space. And as long as you don't spread out too much, but you have the speed to get out and go and like target things that you need to, Custodes still have oomph. And don't forget to base contact that crazy succubus death.
Yeah.
Touch it. Touch the base with a swooping dive, or like a heroic intervention or something. Like touch that base, and she cannot make a consolidation move, so she can't move away anymore.
Yes. We know that pain.
Just touch her base and kill her, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's just a little tidbit there. Don't be afraid if a Dark Eldar play gets too aggressive. Just be ready to kill shit, and just kill stuff, and just keep on killing stuff, and just roll sixes, and then you won't lose.
Yeah. It's always 4-ups and you're good. 4-ups and you're good.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay, we're gonna go to the questions now. So the first question is, what the fuck do we do? So I think we kind of answered that question over the course of this show.
What do we do? You know what you can do? Okay, just sell your models, start a new army.
Start Drukhari.
Problem solved. Yeah. Start. Join the bandwagon. You wanna be Dark Eldar? Play Dark Eldar.
Yeah. So I actually sold my Drukhari army when the book was coming out. Mostly because I only had profits and I didn't want to buy all the other parts of the army.
Talos. I remember that. I remember getting beat up by that army.
Jason Sparks.
Yeah, Jason was running it. I remember 9 Talos beat 6 Talos. Okay, we found that out.
Yeah.
We found that out the hard
way.
Anyway.
Mathematic certainty.
Yeah.
Okay. Has there been? There's some questions about the palace tanks, which we kind of talked a bit about. What are the key units versus Drukhari, and which units threaten them most? So I think we kind of covered that. The things that...
Yeah, so just to recap, great question. Anything that is fast and maneuverable. So like the jet bikes, like having 3 units of jet bikes and a captain gives you 4 very mobile units that threaten any dedicated transport, especially on the charge. Like you can go in, reroll wounds. Like you should be able to crack them out of their transport. In a pinch, Caladius grav tanks, Palace grav tanks, things that have long range, strength 6, strength 7 shooting, and then the odd dreadnought. I'm a big fan of the Galatas tanks because those flamers, that flamer gauntlet thing, is amazing. That thing is just so good. It's just, and it's so fast too. That Galatas is just like, and he's got like great save, good attacks, and that flamer just does all the work. And I feel that having like a good mix of stuff like that really helps, because once you get stuck in, you can like torch the witches with like just flame weapons, and like it's good. I like that stuff.
Some people have been throwing around the Aquilon again with their 8-shot Lastrum bolters, or they can take flamers as well. So we'll see. Okay, Protocultures has a whole bunch of questions. He does this for every episode.
I love it. Yeah, I love it when having somebody so enthusiastic. George does say Skari just wait until the bandwagon caught up with him. That is right. Yes. I've been playing for a long time. Yeah. I've come full circle. And then 10 jet bikes is 1,000 points. He says. Well, I'm taking 9 jet bikes, so like 900 and some points, and then your jet bike captain. So you're looking at about 1,100 points, maybe a little bit more than 1,100 points. And then from there, like, but that is a good core. Like that plus, you've got Trajan. So you're doing that plus Trajan gives you rerolls to wound, and that gives you a good core. And then you can add maybe a Galatas or 2, and maybe a Palace, and then a Caladius. or whatever, or some Venatari or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So it's really at that point you're really kind of looking at what you want to supplement that with. But I think that's a good starting point.
So there's a question here about a popular thing right now, which is Custodes soup. Soup with guard, soup with sisters. We've been seeing a lot of that. Are you more scared of the soup type lists?
Yes.
They bring way more kind of
100%.
flexibility.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Manticores, their full payload, are terrifying. They just kill a whole bunch of stuff. And anything that has mortifiers or like mortifiers especially.
Yeah.
I freaking hate mortifiers. Those things are scary for a Dark Eldar player. So anything that like subs them in, like you could take 10 jet bikes and then take, 9 mortifiers and a cannon nest or something, go to 10. You know what I mean? Like just have fun with it. Like think outside the box and kind of see how that would go. That's some crazy tech right there. You can take that to the bank.
So I'm not sure if Chris has shown you this list that he found of like 9 penitent engines, 9 mortifiers, 3 palace tanks.
We're playing. That's one of the lists that we're playing right now in our like tactical Tortoise team tournament pod. It's one of the Australian teams, and they're running this like crazy mortifier penitent engine list. And I was like, that's a red. I don't even want to like touch that with a 9-foot pole. Like that is terrifying. So yeah.
All right, and so do you think that you're winning through points or through killing, and vice versa for Custodes against you?
When you're playing Dark Eldar, you have to kill. Like you have to just like you cannot. The worst thing you can do is leave a raider with 1 wound here and a squad with 1 wound, 1 dude there. Like that is the worst thing that could happen. Like just pick something and nuke it and just move on to the next thing. Like do not split your fire. Like literally just focus on stuff and kill it. Like that is so key when you're playing against Dark Eldar.
Yeah. This is the old advice always: shoot it till it's dead. But I think it really applies. You don't want to leave units still alive because they'll still be just as effective.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Do you think you're going to see much Drukhari in soup?
There's been a couple of like stuff that we have been seeing in soup, like Sean Naden has souped in Drukhari with Izanari mainly, but that's mainly to make an anti-Drukhari like Eldari mixed list, which is really interesting. At singles play, I think yes, but limited. Like I don't think you'll see it as much as like just a straight up Dark Eldar list.
Yeah. I think as all the books come out, and I think they're really trying to encourage people not to soup, and yeah. Okay. Do you feel like there's any secondaries that are a trap to choose against you?
Grind them down is usually a trap. I see Custodes players take that a lot. Dark Eldar can kill stuff now, so that's it. And a lot of the times it gets to a point in the game where, well, if you go first and I've hidden most of my stuff, like you're not going to kill anything. So then you've lost 3 points right there. And then a lot of the times it comes to a point where you kill so much stuff of all the stuff that was wounded that you kill a bunch of stuff, and then later it's hard for you to get those kills.
Yeah, you kill too much stuff.
So you kill too much stuff, and you never want to be in a position where you're like, if I kill too much stuff, I won't get my points.
Yeah.
No, you want to be able to just kill as much stuff as you can as quickly as possible. So that tends to be a trap. Also, banners are a big trap, especially when playing Custodes.
Yeah.
Like, because you have 200-point units putting up banners. Don't do that. Yeah. But secondly, because Dark Eldar just fly really fast and put their toe on an objective and go, you can't put a banner up,
Yeah.
Scrambler says stop. Scramblers. Yeah, okay. I guess that makes sense too. Skari would why we stand we fight, says Joe Sweat. Sweat. Joe Sweat. Don't sweat it, buddy. Is while we stand we fight a trap.
Well, is it a trap for you to pick, and is it a trap for us to pick?
Well, my list is not built for that, right? So my list is not built for that. And between while we stand we fight and thin their ranks, I would honestly pick thin their ranks against the current Drukhari list that we're seeing. Yeah. So you don't have to worry about your stuff surviving or playing too cagey with you just want to like kill as much shit as possible, because if not, you're going to lose the mission anyway. So I think it's more of a thin the ranks tends to be a better choice into Drukhari.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a question from the Drukhari player point of view. What mistakes are you waiting for us to make in a game?
Split up or to overcommit.
Okay. Like kind of try go for that engage too far or
Yeah, like if you decide to like if you go first and I've hidden and you decide to like run up into the middle of the table, you know what I mean, or whatever, just to get that objective in the middle, I'm like, thank you very much. And like you just gave me a chance to pounce on you or to kill the targets. Don't be afraid to be cagey and wait for the Dark Eldar to make the first move. Soak up a charge or something, like no rerolls, -1 strength, you know what I mean? Like just take the hit and then like start doing damage after that.
Okay. Chris says tacos or sushi.
Tacos al pastor.
Yeah, obviously.
Claro que sí.
All right. So we already talked about the Cladius, and so I mentioned it briefly. But what do you think of Terminators? Our Terminators. So Aquilon Terminators, the Alaris Terminators. They've really fallen out of favor recently. But do you think they have a role against an army like Drukhari?
I think they have a role. I like the Terminators, especially not the Forge World Aquilons, but just the regular Laris Terminators, just because of their ability to snipe characters and things like that. I think they have like they're very useful in like specific situations, like especially if you can drop down and be like, I want to nuke that succubus that's hiding back there. Like she's dead. You know what I mean? Like, just having that option. But I definitely wouldn't go for like a full squad or like a big 5-strong squad. I'd like try and minimize it as much as possible just to have it in the back pocket.
Yeah.
Because they are also useful in a whole bunch of other matchups. And that's the trick is you have to think about not just Dark Eldar.
Yeah.
But 9th edition right now is such a varied meta that you're seeing top 10s at events, barring like one event that was like 4 out of the top 10 with Drukhari. But most events have like knights, like in the top, like how the hell did they get there? Chaos of some sort, Monster Mash or whatever, Death Guard, Custodes are up there with lots of dreadnoughts normally. Dark Eldar, orcs, right? You still need to have tools to deal with all these other units, and it just shows how healthy the game is right now.
Yeah. No, I think that's totally true. So best units to pop raiders. So kind of we talked about it, like a Cladius would be great. You don't even need the Storm Cannon because you don't need Strength 9. You need more shots at Strength 7.
Yeah, lots and lots of shots. Especially with Trajan nearby or whatever. It's excellent. Reroll hits and wounds or whatnot.
Yeah,
super important. And at range preferably. The frag rockets or whatever, like Strength 7 do damage. Like basically those are really useful too. And then mop it up with hurricanes, or in a pinch if you need to charge it, but like kill those transports and kill them fast.
Yeah. So how worried should we be about Void Raven bombers? So this is topical because
Void Raven bombers are freaking fantastic.
Secret's out.
Be scared of them. Do not bunch your whole army behind the one piece of terrain. I literally played against a player yesterday, and I had a Void Raven bomber kill his chapter master, like 5 out of 16 sanguinary guard, entire unit of death company, like 2 attack bikes, and almost nuke a librarian. And like it was just, they are crazy. Do not underestimate those mortal wounds. Don't bunch up as much as you can. Like don't just clump up. At least make them spread out those bombs. Understand how they work, because they're gross. Like they're terrifying, especially the Custodes.
Yeah,
you do not want to see mortal wounds.
No,
and D6 mortal wounds is a lot of mortal wounds.
It is, because that 6 is coming up in that situation. Yeah,
they're so good. Tom here says, they're legit. Even if you spread that, you're playing into the rest of the Drukhari, because you don't want to spread out too much, right? Of course, if you build a list that is a little bit more mobile, you can kind of adjust to the fact that you had to spread out because of the Void Raven bombers. Right now, I've been running 2 in my army, and they are the bomb, literally.
Literally the bomb. So Tom says that they should just be banned.
Yeah, he says they should just legit be banned. No, I own my 2 Void Raven bombers, and I'm using them. And you can't tell me. No. Get out of here, Tom. You're not allowed. You're not allowed to comment. Go tweet an angry comment about how I'm canceling you. Get out of here.
In fact, when you guys play, Tom, you guys should set up a grudge match.
Yeah, definitely. I have 2 of them as well. Don't care. In the bin. Nah, get out of here, Tom. Yeah. No, I wanna make people cry. I've been waiting so long for this.
Yes, you do deserve it, Skari, for sticking.
I do.
With
There's anyone that deserves to make people cry is me. Okay,
yeah.
I'm so patient.
And I mean,
but
even before the 8th book came out, Drukhari was like so bad for so long, and so you deserve every power that you get with your army.
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna make everybody cry, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm literally gonna revel in the pain and suffering that I create.
And this is the way. This is the way.
This is how it works. However, every time I do see Venatari, like Caladius grav tanks, like I'm legit like nervous because I know that they have the potential to just like stop me very far away. So.
All right. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you, Skari, for joining us. That was very insightful, and I hope people found that very useful for all those Drukhari matchups that they'll undoubtedly be facing when they go to tournaments. And so, yeah, be sure to check out Skari's channel, Scarredcast. It's a super amazing channel, especially if you play Drukhari, but for everything, actually. And big congrats, Skari, on all the successes you've had with your channel. Seen it grow like crazy over the last couple of years, and your success with Art of War as well. People can find you at Art of War as well, right?
Yeah, I'm one of the coaches on Art of War. On the Art of War, I also have the Patreon, which is like the main thing. I do content creation full time, so thank you so much for everybody who supports what I do and who enjoys the content. And it's and we're such a cool community, so make sure that you comment, get participating, go find somebody who you appreciate, who you enjoy, and just like chat with them, and become a part of it. And by the way, Curie, to finish this off, yes, I'm taking credit for the Nerf hammer. 100%. I will not apologize one bit.
All right, and thanks everybody for watching, for following, for subscribing, for being on the Discord, Patreons, all that sort of stuff. We will be seeing you guys next week. Next week we have the next Tactica is with John Lennon, where we will be talking about Custodes in soup. And yes, we are breaking the rule that this is a pure Custodes channel. We'll be talking about soup with John. That's next week, and then the week after that.
Legit, I'm telling you, I've played Guard and Custodes for the last like 3 months. Legit, it's really good.
Yeah. And the week after that, I've got Jim on, Jim Vessel, to talk Death Guard matchups. So we got some good shows coming up. So do stay tuned, and thanks everybody for watching. And thank you, Skari.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much, chat. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing this video. If you haven't already, what are you doing?